So I watched The Working Poor, which was a pretty eye-opening video to watch. The short video focused on three different families, and it kind of highlighted the cost of the American dream and what its true cost is and how it can be, in a sense, unachievable for some people. So the first family that it followed was a woman in Florida who had to work two jobs. She worked overnight at a McDonald's and then in the morning time would work at a Dunkin' Donuts. Even with those two jobs, she was not able to earn enough money to save up for a deposit on an apartment that she could rent for her and her three kids. But instead, 3/4 of her income went to go pay the rent at this motel that her and her kids were staying at. The second family was a family that had just recently moved to Seattle, Washington, that lived inside of one of the tent communities. And the wording that they used in it was these tent communities were tolerated by the city. And it was a pretty harsh verbiage, but it was the precise verbiage of what is going on in that city. Is instead of truly figuring out a solution for the homeless, they're putting up these temporary makeshift tent cities where these people can live. But anyways, it followed along where the wife, was working at as a cashier in the town center, and then the husband couldn't find a job. He was looking for a construction job. And the reason why they moved to Seattle, Washington was because that was one of the places where the economy was recovering the best after a recession. And so more and more buildings were being built, so the need for construction workers went up. But unfortunately, the man could never find a job. The third family that it followed, it wasn't necessarily a family, it was more of a community, which was Erie, Pennsylvania. And Erie has a lot of significance in U.S. history. It was the infrastructure capital of our country for the longest time, and many people relied on Erie, Pennsylvania for manufacturing jobs. Now, if you go and tour there, it's desolate, empty, rundown warehouses. Well, it was the seventh biggest company in the world, GE or General Electric. They still have a warehouse there where they have thousands of employees. But little by little, they've been laying off their employees and moving all their jobs over to Texas, where the people in Texas don't have a union to protect them. So the people living in Erie, Pennsylvania are losing their jobs because GE is trying to increase their profit margins and make even more money. So there were different social problems highlighted in it. I mean, the main thing that I thought about was mental health. When these people are either A, constantly working, or B, constantly trying to find work and don't have any success, it could take a large toll on that person's mental health. They never have any time for themselves. They never have the luxury of taking a me day or rewarding them in any such way, because every single penny that they earn goes to either their kids to literally put food on the table, or to paying rent at a hotel, or anything but something relaxing. All their money goes to. The other thing that I noticed and picked up on was if both of these parents were working full-time or constantly working, this leaves the children in and out of an education system. Some either don't attend school, or others were attending school, but the parents aren't present to support the kid in their educational journey. And so the kids are receiving less of a education. That in return is also setting them up for failure, essentially. If they're having lower education, lower test scores, all of that will lead into their future. So mental health was a big thing. Setting the children up poorly was another social problem that I saw. The institution that would be mainly affected by this is definitely the family. It puts a lot of stress on the parents themselves to find jobs, and so it could lead to a rocky relationship, which could ultimately lead into a divorce. Children grow up without the necessity. Sometimes they're even malnourished and they don't have even the nutrition that they need to grow up healthy. So a lot of them grow up with health problems. And of course, these people who don't have jobs or have enough money, I have the hiccups, don't have access to a healthcare system that can help support them. Some of the laws that I did see go into effect, or some of the programs instituted by the US, was Section 8 housing or low income housing. At the end, the woman that was living in the hotel found an apartment that her and her family can move into thanks to the Section 8 housing. The people who were laid off in Erie, Pennsylvania, because of their labor union unemployment, they were able to collect 70% of their salary for the next 6 months after they were terminated. And so all in all, it was pretty eye-opening to see all the different problems play out and think about how these people are impacted. So my question would essentially be, if we value human life as precious, how can we change our society or change our country to better support the humans that are in a less fortunate circumstance with making, both sides of the political spectrum happy?